She said it like it was good news. We were standing in the kitchen, late afternoon light slanting through the blinds, dust floating slow in the air. She smiled, small, satisfied, and set her phone face down on the counter as if that made the moment cleaner. "My ex proposed to me yesterday at lunch," she said. I said yes. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere down the hall, a pipe knocked and went quiet. I remember the smell of detergent from the load she'd just finished, clean and sharp, not matching the weight that settled in my chest. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask her to repeat it. I just stood there, feeling the floor cold through my socks, noticing how calm she looked. Certain. Like this was already decided and I was just being informed. My name is Ethan. I'm 28 years old. I work as a systems analyst for a mid-sized firm. Quiet office, long hours, problems that make sense if you sit with them long enough. I've always believed clarity comes from paying attention, not reacting too fast. That belief kept me steady in that kitchen, even as something fundamental shifted. She watched my face carefully, measuring. "I thought you'd understand," she added. "He's established now. Stable." I nodded once. Not agreement, acknowledgement. There's a difference, and she didn't notice it. We'd been engaged for 8 months. Our life was built on routines. Shared calendars, Sunday groceries, coffee brewed too strong because she liked it that way. I thought of the ring we'd chosen together, still sitting in the top drawer of the dresser, velvet box pushed back like it might disappear if we ignored it long enough. She leaned against the counter, arms folded, waiting for something. Anger, pleading, a mistake she could point to later. I gave her none of it. "Okay," I said. That seemed to confuse her. She straightened, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. "You're taking this well." "I'm listening," I said. A memory drifted in uninvited. The first time she'd mentioned him months ago, casual, almost fond. We were driving, rain tapping the windshield, and she'd said his name like it was an old song she still knew the words to. I'd noticed then. I'd told myself it didn't mean anything. She picked up her phone again, thumb hovering. "I just want you to know I didn't do this lightly." "I'm sure," I said. What I didn't say was that certainty can look a lot like relief when someone thinks they've traded up. What I didn't say was that I'd already started noticing the way decisions in our life tilted away from me, increment by increment, until I was always adjusting to keep things level. That evening, after she went out to clear her head, I sat alone in the living room. The light faded to blue. Traffic whispered outside. I opened my laptop, not with a plan, just a sense that attention, real attention, was overdue. Because while she believed she'd chosen better, I was beginning to understand something else entirely. And understanding, once it starts, doesn't ask permission. The apartment felt different once she left. Not emptier, truer. Sounds stood out, the tick of the wall clock, the low whine of a bus braking outside, my own breathing settling into a slower rhythm. I closed the laptop without opening anything, then reopened it again, habit guiding my hands. I didn't start by looking for proof. I started by looking for context. Her ex's name sat in my inbox history more often than I'd realized. Forwarded messages, casual mentions, calendar overlaps that never quite lined up. I followed the trail patiently, the way I do at work when a system misbehaves. You don't accuse the software. You observe it. You see where inputs don't match outputs. A memory drifted in, her laughing on the couch one night, phone tilted away from me saying, "It's nothing, just old drama." I remembered the smell of takeout containers stacked too high, the glow of the TV she wasn't watching. I'd believed her because believing was easier than recalibrating everything. I pulled up public records first. He'd always talked big. New job, big opportunities. The filings told a quieter story. A business registered and dissolved within months. A lease co-signed by someone else. Patterns that pointed outward, not forward. The woman's name appeared repeatedly. Not mine. Not my fiancé's. His mother. I paused, fingers resting on the keys. Outside, rain started again, light at first, tapping the windows like someone testing for weak spots. I remembered meeting her once, polite, watchful, asking questions that sounded like concern but landed like inventory. What do you do? How long have you been together? What's your plan? Back then, I'd thought she was just protective. I kept going. Messages. Screenshots. Old emails forwarded without context. The more I looked, the clearer the architecture became. Decisions routed through her. Money filtered. Apologies drafted and revised before being sent. He didn't run his own life. He reported it. By the time my fiancée came back, it was dark. She set her keys down harder than necessary, kicked off her shoes. "You've been quiet," she said, eyes scanning the room. "I've been thinking," I replied. She scoffed lightly. "About us." "About patterns," I said. She didn't ask me to explain. Instead, she poured a glass of water and drank it standing up, like she was already halfway out the door. "I don't want this to turn ugly," she said. "There's no need." "I agree," I said, and meant it. That night, after she went to bed, I didn't follow. I sat at the table and organized what I'd found, careful and precise. No embellishment. No commentary. Just facts laid out cleanly, like measurements on a blueprint. I drafted an email and didn't send it. Drafted another. Deleted both. The goal wasn't impact. It was accuracy. Near dawn, the city went quiet in that brief, suspended way before morning traffic returns. I watched light creep into the sky, pale and indifferent. I realized then that I wasn't angry with her. Not really. I was finished explaining myself to people who needed confusion to function. When the message finally went out later that morning, it wasn't to my fiancé. It wasn't to him. It went to the person who'd been steering the whole thing all along. And I sent it without a single emotional word. The reply didn't come immediately. That didn't surprise me. Control doesn't rush. It assesses. I went to work and kept my calendar intact. Meetings. Status updates. A quiet lunch at my desk that smelled faintly of reheated rice and metal from the fork. I spoke when spoken to, listened more than usual. The steadiness felt deliberate, like placing weight evenly on both feet. Mid-afternoon, my phone lit up with an unfamiliar email address. Formal greeting. Polite tone. Gratitude even. She thanked me for bringing clarity to a confusing situation. She said she would handle it. No apology. No questions. Just assurance. The kind that assumes authority without asking for it. A memory drifted in from years earlier. Him canceling plans at the last minute, saying his mother needed something. The way my fiancée had rolled her eyes but waited anyway. I'd noticed then how often her schedule bent around his interruptions. I'd mistaken it for loyalty. It wasn't. That evening, my fiancée came home tense, pacing the living room, phone glued to her hand. "He's being weird," she said. "Avoidant. Non-committal. His mom's suddenly involved in everything." I nodded, neutral. "That sounds stressful." She stopped pacing, studied me. "Did you say something to him?" "No," I said truthfully. She exhaled sharply, frustration rising. "This is why I need stability," she said. "I can't deal with chaos." I thought of the ring in the drawer, of the plans we'd made that always seemed to require my flexibility, my understanding, my patience. I thought of how calm had been mistaken for consent. Later that night, another message arrived. Shorter this time. Colder. She said the proposal had been premature. That expectations needed realignment. That she'd appreciate discretion. I closed the phone and sat in the dark, the apartment lit only by the street lamp outside, orange and steady. The air smelled faintly of dust and rain through the cracked window. I felt no urge to respond. The work was done. By morning, the narrative had shifted. My fiancé told me he needed space. That the wedding plans were on hold. She watched my face for a reaction, searching for leverage that wasn't there anymore. I made coffee. The machine hissed and clicked, familiar and grounding. "I think we want different lives," I said gently. She scoffed. "After everything, you're walking away?" "I'm not walking away," I said. I'm stepping out of something that was never balanced. She didn't argue. She packed a bag instead. As the door closed behind her, the apartment settled into silence. I stood there, breathing in the quiet, understanding finally complete. What she'd chosen wasn't better. It was familiar, managed, safe in someone else's hands. And for the first time, I felt no need to interfere with that choice at all. The apartment emptied out over the next week in small, practical motions. She came by once for the rest of her things, moving carefully, avoiding eye contact. The air smelled like cardboard and old coffee. We spoke in neutral sentences about logistics. Who would cancel what, when the lease ended, where the mail should go. It felt like dismantling a set after the show had already closed. After she left for the last time, I opened the windows and let the city in. Sirens far off. Footsteps below. The ordinary soundtrack of people going where they were meant to be. I cleaned the kitchen, wiped down the counter where she'd set her phone that afternoon, and put the ring back into its box. I didn't hide it. I didn't throw it away. I placed it where it belonged, in the past, intact but finished. At work, nothing dramatic happened. Systems still broke. Meetings still ran long. I noticed, though, how much easier it was to speak plainly when I wasn't carrying someone else's uncertainty around. Colleagues responded to clarity the way they always do, with relief. The day moved forward without resistance. A few messages arrived from mutual friends, tentative and vague. Heard things changed. Hope you're okay. I replied when it felt honest to do so. I didn't correct their assumptions. I didn't supply a story. Silence can be accurate without being cruel. One evening, I cooked dinner for myself and ate at the table instead of the couch. Steam rose from the plate. The room smelled like garlic and oil. I took my time. Afterward, I washed the dish and listened to the water run, noticing how steady it sounded when nothing was pulling at it from both sides. I thought about control, the way it often dresses itself up as concern, stability, tradition. I thought about how easy it is to mistake familiarity for safety. The difference, I'd learned, is who gets to breathe. I turned off the lights and stood for a moment in the dark, the city's glow outlining the windows. There was no victory in it, no lesson to deliver, just a clean, quiet sense of alignment. I didn't need her to understand. I didn't need him to fail. I didn't need anyone's permission to leave. I needed my life back.